Anyway, let's get to the interview. Kevin Pollak. We like Kevin Pollak in so many things.
Mm-hmm.
The Avalon, Casino, A Few Good Men. I mean, he's worked with some great directors, and before that, obviously, he made his mark as a comedian. And, man, I tried my best to get him to do a walk-in impression in this thing.
You did, man.
It just didn't work. Just didn't happen. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
But he did join us to talk about a little bit about his film career and his chat show, and especially his new web series, which is called Vamped Out. And you can find it at babblegum.com. That's BABELGUM.com/vamped-out. Here's Kevin. Tell me about your relationship with the web, because, of course, through your talk show, which is extremely popular, and it's terrific. I watch it all the time, and so does Jerry. And now with Vamped Out, tell me about the appeal of doing things on the web for you.
Well, you know, I started out in stand-up comedy where I had that sort of complete creative control. Mm-hmm. And as a stand-up, you know, on stage, you're living and dying by your own wits moment to moment. So a lot of times comedians find it very hard to switch over to film or TV because you're a gun for hire with very little to no say, and it's all not live.
Right.
So, and also as a comedian, you know, you're the writer, the editor, the performer, the director, the choreographer. You have that creative control of all those things. So suddenly, from doing the Kevin Pollak's chat show, I should mention the 2010 Streamy Award winning Kevin Pollak.
Yes, congratulations on that.
It's not important. Anyway, so I sort of rediscovered a milieu wherein I had creative control and living and dying by my own wits, sort of thing. And also, there's that aspect of the web where if you build it, they will come. It's sort of the ultimate version of that too, because it's unbelievably important. Two rules I found abjectly important: to involve your audience, to engage them, to make them feel a part of the process, and then the other thing would be to not self-promote beyond your means, to let the audience discover these things. So naturally I'm self-promoting slightly obnoxiously on Twitter, but otherwise, you know, you, for most things you don't gear up some giant marketing machine the way you do in traditional media.
Well, it is kind of a unique communication between entertainer and audience that the web presents. And, of course, as a stand-up, you get that immediate feedback. Movies, you know, you do your work 6 months, a year later, you'll get the feedback when it finally comes out. Where does your work on the web fit in that?
We sat down to lunch with Jason Antoon, we being Jamie, my better half, and I, about 6 months ago.
Right.
Having seen a billboard for the Vampire Diaries with the hilarious tagline, "Love sucks." We're still laughing over that one. We were sat down bemoaning this ridiculous thing. And Antoon says, "Could you imagine being a vampire right now and you can't get hired to be in any of these movies or TV shows?" And we all started laughing, and then Jamie said, "Kevin, that would be a great bit for your act." And I said, I think it would be a great web series. And I wasn't looking to do a web series at that point. I don't know why I didn't say, hey, that'd be a great short film. But I said that would be a great web series. And Jason and I started writing a week later, and within 3 weeks we had a readable version of these 6 scripts. So that was all 5 to 6 months ago. And now here we are talking about the series being on babblegum.com. So that's the quickest turnaround I've ever experienced from inception to release.
And you're like an ultra hyphenate lately, especially with this project. I mean, you're producing, co-producing, co-writing, directing for the first time. Was that always, in acting, of course, but was directing always kind of a curiosity for you?
I don't know. I mean, I'd been asked to direct a couple of features, but it was somebody else's script, and I just didn't respond to the material as wildly enticing as that notion was.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wrote a screenplay just so I could compete with my my gardener, because his script was fantastic. So no, but I had been toying with the idea of directing a feature now for several years, one that I had written, and I found the experience to be beyond as rewarding as I'd hoped.
Well, what surprised you about yourself in that role of director?
What surprised me? I would say that people seem to be responding to my demands, and that's always surprising. I would say the surprising part was how much I enjoyed it and how well I was told I took to it from the get-go. I mean, one of the things I'd learned from working with all these great directors over the years was that, you know, the mood on the set is definitely set by the director. The fish stinks from the head down, and you had better have an unbelievably happy set.
Right.
And I enjoyed all of that as sort of the ringmaster, but also the court jester, you know, which is how I sort of, the court jester part is how I work on every set as an actor. And I thought, well, I'll take that to the set as the director and see if that works. And I just know that a happy set is a very, very productive one.
Right.
So.
True.
Well, you have, as you mentioned, you have worked with some of the great directors. And I wanted to ask you about two in particular, and what you possibly took from them and learned from them and your experience with them. Barry Levinson is one.
Okay, one at a time. Yeah, Barry, very, very fortunate for me that he was the director of the first real drama that I did as an actor in Avalon. Because I say very fortunate for two reasons. One, he loves comedians, whether they're trained actors or not. And two, since I was a stand-up with no training as an actor, the fact that I was working my first time in a big drama with a director who hated acting and didn't ever want to seem anything other than spontaneous, that was just crazy good luck for me.
That's wild. Great luck. Yeah.
So in terms of the experience, there was that part. But then, for him as a guy who hated acting, that was an unusual thing. So I just remember watching how he went about capturing spontaneity and what he did to relax his actors in the scene. And I called him the Phantom. And I've joked about this with other actors who've been in this movie. In fact, I had Danny Stern on the chat show a couple of weeks ago, and we laughed about this in the episode. Because his experience was the same. That Barry would set up a scene. His brilliance is writing and casting, as I found a lot of the better directors either do the writing or find a great script or help rewrite it into a great script. And then it's just about the casting. And then you get out of the way and let the actors do what they do, and the reason you hired them, the reason you chose them, you know, that's the hard part. So then I got from Barry to just kind of stay out of the way. Kind of thing.
So is he one of those guys that kind of, you refer to him as the Phantom, but does that also have to do with he's guiding you a certain way to achieve a certain goal, and you don't feel that guidance necessarily?
Yes. I don't remember ever getting direction the entire experience. I mean, if he were directing this scene, he would say, "All right, Kevin, you're at home. You're on the phone there, and fellas, you're in the studio. You got your headphones on, and you're talking. And action." And then he would go behind the monitor and laugh with his headphones on, and then he would say, "Cut," and then he would come back over. That was astounding.
Wow.
Okay, we'll do it again. So, Kevin, you're there, and you've got the cat is near you, and then the guys, you're in the studio, and There's no cat and action. So it was never really any faster, slower, louder, softer, you know.
Right.
Okay, good.
And, of course, Scorsese, I mean, the giant that anyone would be lucky to be in the vicinity of, and the whole Casino experience. What was that like for you?
Well, not too dissimilar in the sense that the actors had complete freedom, which I found shocking. A guy who's so meticulous about every square inch of his frame, his composition. Within that composition, the actors were literally free to do whatever they wanted. And then after every take, he would come by and say, "Well, that was great. What do you think? Should be more angry, less frustrated? What do you think?" And I just quickly learned you had better have an answer to that, because there was a barrage of inquiries as to what you might want to do next. But it was questions. It wasn't instructions. So you felt a part of his process instantly, which was magnificent.
Mm-hmm. It's got to be a really, I mean, just listening to the man talk, it has to be a very energetic feeling on a Scorsese set.
Yes, and or exhausting, depending on your day. Yeah. Now and he's also the greatest film reference guide in human form. That
I think so, yeah.
Every sentence is riddled with references to films you've never heard of.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a constant education happening if you're inclined. But no, he was a very fascinating ball of energy, and you did all you could to keep up with him. And you felt like you were in the presence of true original greatness that doesn't exist elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, now I know that you've probably been asked this question a million times, so I'm going to ask you once more. Casino versus Goodfellas. There's this big argument.
We've had it last night.
I know, we've had this argument so often on the show. And what is your take on it? Because Casino, I feel like it got kind of a bad rap upon its release, and it's gained in stature as the years have gone by. And a lot of that probably has to do with Goodfellas. Is that your take on it? What were your feelings about that?
First of all, I've not been asked this a million times, so sorry to disappoint, and yet quite a relief for me, because I like this question a lot. And I think that you're hitting the proverbial nail on its head. Goodfellas, argue as you may about some of his other films, Raging Bull, Goodfellas is in my opinion, Scorsese's masterpiece. So, anything in its similar genre would only be compared to that.
Right.
Scorsese is one of those rare filmmakers that all of his films are compared to only his films and not other films.
Right, yeah.
Woody Allen the same. There's a few filmmakers like this, where you only compare it to their previous work.
Right.
As to whether it's good or bad, as opposed to comparing it to what's out at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So if Goodfellas hadn't existed, I would dare say Casino would be Scorsese's masterpiece. But because Goodfellas existed prior, for some, Casino was just returning to the scene of the crime. Oh, this again. And then it has to pale in comparison because it's being compared to his masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
And, that is what it is. You can't get away from that.
Well, let me give you my take on it, because I know that you're incredibly curious about what my take must be.
I was just writing that down. Must remember to ask my take.
Goodfellas and Casino, I kind of put them in terms of Godfather and Godfather 2.
Right.
Godfather is a perfect film, but I will watch Godfather 2 probably first, because it just feels like it's such a richer, kind of more delicious experience to me. And I feel the same way with Goodfellas in comparison, or Casino in comparison to Goodfellas. Does that make any sense to you?
Perfect.
Oh my God, it makes all the sense in the world. Where do we begin? No, I was just asked in a previous interview to give my top 5 films, which I just launched into, because it was put to me like, if you were a professor instead of an actor, of film, and you had to teach a course, what would be and you only had 5 films to teach it with, what would they be? And I said, well, if this were the curriculum, first of all, it would take considerably more time than you've allowed me to put my list together. And in this situation, what I said to that person was, I'm going to go against the norm and actually pick Godfather 2 in my top 5 instead of Godfather 1. And one of the main reasons is because it is the lone exception to the rule that the sequel's never better, right. or as good.
Right.
So whether it's good or better, it depends on the fan.
Right, of course.
But it is one or the other, and that doesn't exist in sequels ever. Although I will say, Grumpier Old Man was right up in.
Of course.
But it doesn't exist. So to suggest that Casino is as good or better than Goodfellas, that would be an argument that may go down to the death,
right.
depending on who you're having it with.
Right.
That's a debatable point of view that is, for true film lovers, a debate worth having.
Yeah. Well, I find that we're in total agreement on that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You are my new best friend.
Well, we all tend to agree with people who agree with us, don't we?
Can we
go ahead, Jerry.
Film? Can we bring up? There's actually because we are talking about your films. There's one film I'm very fond of, and that's where you play the President of the United States, Rod Laurie's Deterrence, and I think that's an exceptional film, way ahead of its time. And you were just wonderful in that. And I was just curious what that experience was like for you.
Thank you, first of all. I think as tight little political thrillers go, it's one of the better ones, and it's certainly one of the best performances I've ever given, and one of the least seen. So I always appreciate anyone who's even seen the damn thing. As well as movies that was shot for Coffee and Donuts and first-time writer-director. And we're lucky to get a release from Paramount Classics. But, of course, when I'm number one on the call sheet, the studio's only going to spend so much money in marketing, so no one really had a chance to find out about the film, let alone see it.
Right.
Which was wildly unfortunate because, for me, unfortunate. Not so much for the writer-director who went on to do The Contender and got a couple Academy Award nominations for his actors, and that's really a remarkable film, I think.
Yeah.
So I love the movie Deterrence, and I would anyone who loves a tight political thriller, I would encourage them with great vigor to go see it.
Yeah. So saying that, because you talked about this studio and it didn't get I think it played at one. I live outside of Washington D.C. and I think it played at one theater here for like a week or so when it opened.
Yeah,
and
it sounds about right.
Yeah. So I would think with the web though, one of the great things is you get rid of all that the studio interference, or you have much more control over how the series is going to get out there. You can put it out there immediately if you can, as soon as you're done shooting. So I would think the freedom, as you mentioned earlier, with the web is just unlimited.
Yeah, it's been a perfect experience. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. From 100% abject creative control and freedom to the short span of 5 months or so from conception to us talking about it being viewable now. That doesn't exist. But also coming from stand-up comedy, where have always been, as any comedian is, the writer, the editor, the director, the producer, the choreographer, the performer, and feeling like a gun for hire in films and TV for the most part. So all those are the reasons. And then, I love being in this wild frontier, quite frankly, of original content online, because it runs a complete gambit. It's a great place for kids to start out and throwing up anything.
Right.
It's also a place where you can watch a cat play a piano along with 10 million other people. and all that's perfect. I don't find fault with any of it. It's literally the ultimate. If you build it, they will come, and if they don't, then you need to rebuild.
And you've got one of our favorite people in Vamped Out.
Yes,
Sam Levine. He's been on our show 3 times in the past, and we're crazy about him. He's hysterical in it.
Yeah, he really is great. There's a small film coming out that he's in that I highly recommend called Drones.
Mm-hmm.
And he's exceptional in that as well. Sam is a great talent, and we've enjoyed having him on my talk show, Kevin Pollak's Chat Show.
The Streamy Award-winning.
That's right.
Yeah. The 2010 Streamy Award, Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. And Sam is a bit of a sidekick on the show and has been from the beginning. And, he's a tremendous talent. He really is.
Speaking of your chat show, and this is the last question, and then we'll let you go unless Jerry wanted to pop in here with something else. But do you have...
What the hell?
I mean, we love your chat show, as billions of people do, I'm sure. But do you have a dream guest?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, they're endless. I mean, we've had some big timers on. We've had 5 Academy Award winners on, captains of industry. In the case of Elon Musk, the CEO and founder of Tesla Motors. The no time restraints and no censorship has allowed us to spend a couple hours with people like Seth MacFarlane, Kevin Smith,
right?
Eddie Izzard holding the record at 2 hours and 31 minutes. So, along with all those things in the back, because we book the show ourselves, it's very fine-line-ish as to who I reach out to and who I don't. Mm-hmm. And as proud as I am of the show, and as much as we've accomplished in a scant year, I'm still very reluctant to reach out to a lot of the giant A-listers that I've worked with, and in some cases are good friends with. But people are now starting to offer themselves up to the show, which has kind of been the fantasy all along.
Right.
But Albert Brooks comes to mind, Ricky Gervais, some of you more genius comedic brains. But also, we've had great filmmakers on already, and Jason Reitman and Chris McQuarrie, the aforementioned Academy Award-winning writer of The Usual Suspects.
Right.
And Kevin Smith and George Gallo, who wrote Midnight Run. I love to have some of the great filmmakers that I've worked with on the show. I just haven't had the balls to pick up the phone and call them. It's funny how that works, but anyways, there you go.
Well, I would love to see you interview Christopher Walken as Christopher Walken. I think that would be your first 4-hour show.
Well, that's more of a sketch than a moment of reality. I mean, I have found that doing them for them is not always a great idea. Although in his case, he does like it.
Well, that's good as long as he likes it.
Become friendly over the years. But to conduct an interview as him would be slightly obnoxious after about 3 minutes.
But he even asked you to present his star on the Walk of Fame to him. Is that? Do I have that right?
It was a bigger event than even that. It was the hands and feet and signature in cement in front of the Chinese Theater on Hollywood Boulevard, which is a considerably greater honor these days. A, they're running out of real estate, and B, you can pretty much get a star on the Walk of Fame now for about $1,500. I mean, Ryan Seacrest has one. Should I go on?
No.
Oh, wow. I had no idea. Wow.
But the hands and feet in the cement is huge. And so, yes, I was one of the 2 speakers at the ceremony, the other one being Quentin Tarantino, who directed him in Pulp Fiction.
Mm-hmm.
So,
wow.
And I had never met Christopher Walken prior to this. So, as honored as I was being asked, I couldn't help wonder, well, how far down the list did he have to go?
I guess he had seen you do an impression of him or something and invited you based on that, or?
Yeah, I had done it on Conan O'Brien several times, and you just never know who sees it, is all I can tell you. But I had a sense that people might have helped him put the guest list together. I don't know that he personally selected me. I didn't hear yes or no on that, but I have my questions that I did not pose to him.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for your time today, and I love Vamped Out. We both do. We love your show, and wish you the best of luck with everything.
Yes, thank you.
Well, thanks. Thanks very much. Yeah, I'm annoyingly proud of this little web series, and for some bizarre reason, it's the best reviews of my career, literally, and that makes me happy as well that I found this new home and original content online, and it's going so well so quickly.
Well, we'll definitely drive our traffic your way for the show. So.
Much appreciated.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right, thank you.
All right, tell everyone to head to babblegum.com.
Exactly. Yes.
That's right.
All right, 2010 Streaming Award winner. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kevin.
Please, it's not important.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.